So today I want to talk about split testing and a few of the issues there are with split testing and and how we're going to be solving it inside LeadSource. This is very, very new. We just launched it last week, and I'll share with you. But before I do that, I want to share with you whether you use LeadSource or not. It doesn't matter. These sessions are not LeadSource centric. While I do share aspects of LeadSource, they meant to just answer all kinds of marketing, business, and or lead gen issues. So I'm going to share that first. So this came from a paid traffic horror that I ran into. There's a company that's spending about $500,000 a month. They running a Facebook ad, and then they would want to test a new landing page. So they would obviously create a new lander and then clone the previous ads. Obviously, it had a new post ID, so it didn't have the history of the other ads, and naturally, it didn't perform. And they've been doing it for about 6 months. They'd already spent quite a bit of money on testing. They kept telling me that no one can beat their landing page. So when I saw that, I said, "Oh, that's unusual." I said, "While I've seen many controls that can last for weeks and months, but to find something like this on Facebook is quite unusual." So when I looked at the setup, I could see that the post IDs were different, and I said, "That's not really a good test." Because obviously you've got the benefit of history here and you have no history here. And when it dawned on them what they'd been doing, they realized they'd wasted thousands of dollars in testing. So the first lesson of split testing is to make sure that if you are going to test something, that because there's an opportunity cost of testing. Because generally speaking, if you've been testing for a while, you're going to find that your new tests will fail, actually will underperform. And so the amount of less performance you're going to get in your test is the cost of the true opportunity cost. So let's say, for example, if you're spending $100 a day, and test one is giving you 20% conversion, but then your test gives you a 10% conversion, then obviously the 10% you miss out on in the number of leads and or revenue that's coming off those is the opportunity cost. So split testing is not free. So make sure that if you are going to test something, that it better bring back some friends. Or you want to test in such a way, obviously we have to test, and that's the risk you take, that you are quite pragmatic in the risk taking and not just willy-nilly say, "Hey, yeah, I know the Guru X said split test, therefore I'm going to go and test the heck out of this thing." We do have one comment here. Cool. All right. Awesome. Glad that Lisa's sorted. All right. So then comes the issue with client-side testing. So most split testing platforms that you're going to run into, they have a client-side rotator. And what that looks like, generally speaking, it's going to look like a GTM or a pixel or some sort of script that you're going to put in the header section of your page. And what the traffic does, it goes to your lander A, and then it realizes, oops, hang on a second, I got to rotate this, and then it loads in B and C. Sometimes you'll see a little flicker that happens on the page. Not necessarily, but that's usually what happens or can happen. And what you're going to find is that B and C is actually disadvantaged or naturally disadvantaged because A has to load first, and then because the script has to trigger, and then it triggers B and C. So naturally, B and C have got either a couple of milliseconds, if not 1 or 2 second disadvantage over A. And that number is not consistent, because it all depends on the infrastructure you're using, the type of landing page builder you're using, and so on and so forth. Now, the way to accommodate that, if you are going to use a client-side rotator, is to do an AA test. This is where you just make an exact replica of your page, and you will run a bunch of traffic to it, and they both should have the same conversion rate, obviously, because they're the same page. But what you're going to find is if this disadvantage is significant, then you're going to find that, for example, that converts at 5%, that's going to convert at 4%, or something along those lines. And you want to note that, because the reason for that is because what you don't want to do is obviously keep throwing away your tests thinking they're not performing, but they are performing, because they're disadvantaged as a result. They're showing up as not performing, if that makes sense. So that probably clears up in a diagram like this. Now, if you are running Facebook ads, and most of you are experts on the call, so I don't have to tell you this, please don't touch them. because you may not get the campaign back. All right, so don't go around hacking at campaigns if you find something that's working. You want to duplicate the whole thing, and then clone the campaign. You know, take your lander, you put that as your variant. This is for client side. And then you obviously it's going to rotate, and you want to add your control, whatever you're currently using, as a variant itself, and then you want to add B and C. And then what do you want to then what do you want to see? You want to see the difference between A and A. And let's say, for example, in this hypothetical example, I've got A converting at 10%. I've got sort of A dash, you want to call it that, or the clone of it, sitting at 7%. Then clearly there's a disadvantage in this current setup by 3%. So the fact that B performed at 9, therefore it states that obviously if that's underperformance of 3%, you want to add that on top of it, and you'll realize that actually B is the true winner here, and not A continuing to win, right? So, but depending on what page you build and how much you put on the page, that number is not consistent. That you're not going to find that every time it's going to be 3%. Depending on the setup, specific traffic source, whatever you got loading on the page, maybe adding another GTM container that's quite heavy if you're firing 5 or 10 different traffic ad networks. So you almost got to run this every time. But all the ad spend that's going here is actually wastage, because you're doing it to make sure that you're not making a mistake with these two, is why you're adding this one here. So it's awfully expensive way of doing it, especially when you're doing a client-side testing. Most split testing apps out there that sell this as a product will normally say to you, it doesn't matter, or it's okay, or whatever. But you know what? In the many tests that I've done, it always is an issue. The only issue is it a big enough issue for you to worry about? So I'd rather know that I'm not wasting my money on these two in my variants. So I kind of like to do that. So if you are going to do client-side split testing, then make sure you do add this in. All right, a better setup is essentially a server-side, where you would drive that to a server-side setup, and it would just rotate equally 50-50, or what you would want to do. Let's say if you're spending $1 million a month, then you're not going to do 50-50, because this is probably going to fail and you're going to blow a bunch of money. So you do 95% here, and then you add an extra 5% here, or something on those lines, where what you want to do is you want to work back, just some practical here. You want to work back to where you want to rotate in such a way that in 2 weeks or 10 days to 2 weeks, you end up getting a result. So don't run like millions of impressions to your rotation and tell me an hour later, oh my God, version B1, that's actually, while it may be statistically insignificant, is practically a useless outcome, because you've only seen traffic for an hour, and that may not be representative of a week or whatever. Let's say, for example, if you're running traffic on a day when there's let's say, Cyber Monday or something, or a Black Friday, obviously that day is not representative of any other day in the year. So you want to make sure that you spread that across a 10 or 14-day cycle, and you get the outcome at the end of 14 days. So adjust your rotator in such a way that you get you get ample enough traffic over the 2-week period, and not just try and get the result in half an hour. I had that happen to me, actually. There was a company I worked with, they were spending about $5 million a month. They said, oh, Nick, the test is over, we got the result. And I said, what test? And like, oh, the test we started 2 hours ago. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't work that way. You need to run it for 2 weeks. So, all right. So the best setup, and it's not coming soon. That's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. We've delivered that, and I want to share with you how to set that up inside LeadsHook. Now, before I move into what the setup is and then move to Q&A, any questions on this? Hope that was clear. Feel free to just type it in the chat or unmute your mic and ask away. Nope. All right, no questions. I'll move on to LeadsHook. You got it. I'm going to show you how to use it now. All right. We just added it in. All right, so you get the benefit of that. All right, let me share my screen and show you the pages. So what I've done is I've created hypothetical pages. Oops, escape. I've created 2 hypothetical pages. There's my page A, It's a landing page. I just used two themes. I was using Brizzy in this WordPress plugin. It already has these beautifully designed pages. I don't know whether they work or not, but they look pretty. So I just added them. I picked two crypto ones. There's my page one. There's my page two, and I've got my landing page, my decision tree one here, and my decision tree two right here, right? And I'm looking to see whether which idea or concept is gonna win. That's the setup. All I've done is I've just added in the decision tree inside both pages. There's no extra scripts on the page, because what we've done is we've made sure that we track the underlying page when you've set this up. Now let's look at the setup inside LeadsHook. This little thing up here, you're going to see experiments. Click that, and it'll give you the option of setting it up. Obviously, go add. You would set up much like any other test that you do. You give it a name, all that sort of stuff. You kind of get that. And what happens next is you set up your variants. So the variant setup, I've just got my two pages here. That's my page A, that's my page B, just to show you what that looks like. There's my page A right there, and that's my page B right there. Right, so A and B. There's a little flag here to tell you which one's your control. And the only reason for be doing that is so we can show you the result against the control. That's it doesn't do anything. You can go without it, but you might as well set up the control part. Now, to add a variant, I'm just going to do an example here. I would look at, so let's say, for example, this is my variant C. I would pick my decision tree, whatever I'm going to use. I'm just going to pick this here for now. Select if you have any custom domains, you could pick that. And then if it's embedded, go ahead and select that. If it's not embedded, then obviously we'll show you what the URL is. If it's embedded, select that and enter in the URL like, Amazon.com, your domain.com. And that's how you would set that up to show that it's embedded. If it's not embedded and you're doing direct link campaigns where you're building the pages inside LeadsHook itself, then just go ahead and leave it like so. And that's all I've done. So I've done landing page because I figured most people would be embedding them. And that is now then the other thing you want to do is you want to pick your domain. Now, if you are using custom domains inside LeadsHook and you verified a domain, that domain will be available for you to rotate over here as well. So therefore, any Facebook type traffic that you want to run, you can run it to a verified domain, which already exists inside your Facebook account. Go ahead and select that. So if I select my domain, it'll actually change that. Right, I'll just stick to the leadshook.io one. Now, that's the URL that you put as your destination URL inside your ads. And you can attach any amount of UTM params to this. We pass over the UTM params to your underlying pages. So no changes are required in any of the tracking that you are doing. All you got to do is just take that UTM source, campaign, term, keyword, whatever, add that to this. Now, the reason why we've done it this way, because one of the most common feedbacks that I've received, and not just that, and I know that because of this problem here, that one there, you don't want to touch existing campaigns. So you want to set up a new campaign, and at some point, this new campaign will take over the old one, and they can shut that off at that point. That URL, once you've added it to your destination URL, you'd never have to change it. You can keep running the same URL. Each time you add a new variant and publish it, it's a whole new set of landing pages you can rotate to. So theoretically, what I could do is do this. Come here, create page C. Let's call it page C. Add whatever, it can be one existing one. Yep, right here. I'm just going to do that and call it page C.html or whatever my page is going to be. Give it a description, my new variant, new variant on, I don't know, date, and maybe a summary of edits. Because if you make too many changes, after a while, you forget what the hell you're doing. So just that's what that's there for. Go ahead and save that. I can delete these two now, delete that, and just have that page and publish it. All of a sudden, all of your Facebook traffic will run to this now. So no changes required in Facebook ads. Your Facebook ads never get touched. In fact, theoretically, you could put this URL across all of your ads if you wanted to, or at least all of the ads in the one campaign group, and just keep moving pages in and out. So each time you publish it, it's almost like a brand new split test but no need to change the actual params, no need to change the destination URL. Is everybody clear on that? This is a unique feature that we've added in because I used to get frustrated all the time because each time you run a new campaign or a new split test, you get this new set of URLs. In theory, nothing should change, but once you start messing around with your campaigns, you go back in your learning mode and all the rest of it, you may never get that old campaign back. So if you've got something working, don't touch it, leave it, start with a new one, and that's the way you want to operate. Is everybody clear on that? All right, we've got some questions here. Let me address that first. Okay, 2 questions. Okay. So I can arrange the landers, run the experiments without messing up the campaign. Yes, absolutely correct. You never have to touch your Google, Facebook campaigns, except where you're making campaign changes. Obviously, if you're running new ads, then that would be something you do. But you can continue, and if you run it to the same page or same set of pages, you would just add the one destination URL and don't touch it. The reason we've done it this way is because we know that the AIs that the Google and Facebook have, they're not perfect in any way. And if you mess with them too much, sometimes you'll never get the campaign back. I remember there was a campaign that my good friend Goha was running, and he was getting like $5 leads in a market where normally you get $50 leads. And the Google rep recommended, and never trust the rep, to go do some changes. He changed it, and he never got those $5 leads again. He was running at scale. And he said, I must have lost millions of dollars on that one campaign by stupidly listening to what the and I said, why don't you just clone the campaign and run another one and not touch that one? He goes, yeah, hindsight. So if you got something that's working really well, generally speaking, if you're reaching steady state where it's just working day in, day out, don't touch that and just clone it, run it, add the new rotator on this side. So that's your new URL on this side, and off to the races you are, which means you can rapidly do lots of landing page tests without touching any of your Facebook campaigns or your Google campaign or whatever traffic source campaign that you want to run with. Right? So I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll move on to, so I'm going to go ahead. So I haven't published anything yet, so I'm still running the old test here. I'll just go ahead and remove that. Now, each time you publish, your stats will reset. And so I'm going to go into stats over here and show you that it's blank. And that's the stats that is available here. For anyone who's technically minded and is interested in what we're using a Bayesian probability rather than frequentist. It's a bit of a technical difference there, where when you're looking at Bayesian probability, I'll show you some results shortly just to show you why we're using that. It allows you to get almost like a running confidence interval of how good the test is. In the frequentist method, which is normally what most pretesting tools use, you need to run your minimum number of impressions before you can call a result. Bayesian probability allows you to call a result at any point in time. The only thing that changes is the amount of confidence you're going to have in your result. And you might be like, you know what, this test is looking like a 50-50. I don't want to keep wasting money. It's optimized once again for the one thing that is so scarce, which is your money. So we want to, so that's how I've always run, but computationally they become quite difficult. So I've got custom developers who've done that. So what we've taken is we've just built it inside Lead2. We don't even offer you the frequentist method. If you want to use that, feel free to sign up to VMO. Now the server side, what does that actually mean in practical terms? It is actually, I haven't quite understood why. Maybe we should do the same as these guys. Also, I'll show you. I actually got shocked when I saw this. Server side, if you are going to look at the pricing, that's this one right here. And let's say if you run 100,000 impressions a month, it's 4,700 per month billed annually. I don't know why, but at this rate, Lead2, I'm paying you to use Lead2. so use it, all right? If you don't use it, I'll charge you. How about that? That's the deal. All right, so it's really a game changer. I don't know why they feel the need to charge that much, but they are. And we're just throwing it in as part of our base service here. So please use it. Don't make me charge you that much. If I don't see use it, I'm going to start charging. Hopefully that gets people to use it. All right, now that we've got our experiment set up, let's go ahead and do a test. So variance, I'm going to pick up my my variant right here and go and we're going to run it incognito, and it rotates to the first page, and that's it. So what you can see here, we pass the variance here. Now, if you're going to have UTM params, it's going to be added on to it. This is a $5 a month hosting account, so that's the reason why the rotation took a bit longer than what you would expect. But normally in most pages, it's instantaneous. We are rotating in milliseconds, basically. And so it adds a variant. This is for our purposes. We are reading all this stuff. If you have your UTM params and all that, so let's just show that to you. If I'm going to go incognito again, come here. Ampersand, so let's say UTM underscore source equals testing, ampersand my URL param, just to show you can actually add anything you want, A, B, C, press enter. It actually carries forward to next one here. So this means any setup you've got inside LeadSook where you are already pre-existing using pre-existing UTM params, they are still respected, and then we add our own variants to it for our internal tracking purposes. So the first one was page 1, the second one was page 2. Rotation. Let's have a look at our stats. Right, you should see a 1-1. There you go, 50-50, and obviously they're sitting on top of each other. And okay, so that's how you do the experiment. Now, how do you do the conversions? Obviously, I haven't shown you that yet, just showing you the first part here. So there's my DT right there. Once you add an experiment in there, LeadSook automatically picks it up that this is running as an experiment. Yeah, we are tracking everything behind the scenes. Yeah, we created an entire Mongo cluster that is tracking all of the impressions on the split testing side. Is that what you mean by that? How do you deal with tracking?
No, can I,
you mean the
can I
conversion?
talk through it?
Yep.
So if you've got, like GTM tracking on each of the DTs.
Pages. Yep.
Yeah, on the pages, and then you've got the embeds on there.
Yep.
Which is firing? How are you dealing with that? Is it just running through normal?
Yep.
Yeah.
As per normal. No impact. Yeah.
Okay.
We made sure that anything you've got currently working on your pages, we don't touch that. So we're adding an array on top of it, and therefore no changes required. So if you've got all your campaigns, however you set them up, because I'm sure anyone who's done any complex tracking would have spent, days, sometimes weeks, trying to get all that tracking stuff sorted out. We respect that 100%, and we don't touch it. We've added in an extra, an entire new way of doing it. Now, how do you track conversions here? Just to so once you've added in once LeadSook sees that this is a DT that's used in a split test, it automatically adds in that little option right there. Mark this as a experiment conversion. Obviously, that's my first lambda. I'm not. So on the second one, I am. So if you can see here on my second page, I've said, yep, that's my conversion. Which means you have the full flexibility of where you want to mark a conversion. You can mark a conversion halfway through your decision tree. You can mark them on your thank you page. You can mark it in an email node. You can mark it wherever you want to mark it. And the reason why we've done it that way is because we've got people who want to be like, hey, listen, I've got this massive DT. By the time I get the data of my actual conversions, which is way down in my decision tree, I may end up spending a ton more money than I necessarily want to. I'm quite happy to make a decision halfway through the decision tree where I'm getting a high number of traffic. And what I'm found through all the testing that I've done is that once I get to that point, generally speaking, while I'm losing some of the conversions below that, they normally are consistent. So I'm quite happy to track people at the email node, for example, or someplace further up. And the reason to do that is to quickly get results. All right. Right. I'll answer that very shortly. Let's go through and just do one more test here. And so I can show you what the conversion looks like. Go back to experiments and pick this up. Copy this. Go back to incognito and run that. This time I'm going to go to the second page. And so there's my DT right there, DT2. And there you go. That's the conversion. Done. Let's just get rid of that. Go back to stats. So you will see that one of those has a conversion. So there you go. My LPB had a conversion. And obviously, at this point in time, no clear winner is declared, obviously. But you can see that based on these current numbers, the probability that this is going to be winning is going to be, in this case, almost 70%. Too early to make a call, which clearly shows you here. But you can start seeing how the graphs are showing up, what the uplift is, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, but essentially, after every impression, you can come and check your results. It's a real-time system. We're not batch processing anything at this stage. And that's how it's going to continue to work. So super simple to set up. All you got to do is wherever your DT is sitting on some page, tracking is already available. All you need to do is just add them into the experiments. That is your page URLs. And then go ahead and add in this particular URL you see over here. The UI is going to get a bit of changes. We get coming up with a prettier version coming very soon. But essentially, we're going to get this out the door and grab that. Add in your UTM params or URL params, whatever you want to add. Add that as your destination URLs. Publish, and the test is done. And that's it. At that point, from that point onwards, that ad does not need to ever change its destination URL. If I want to change this entire list of pages that I have here, I can just go and add a new variant, delete this, publish, done. No changes required in Facebook at all. So now there's obviously some gray hatish, black hatish thing you can do with this. Obviously put a compliant page, and then you can put a not so compliant page. I don't recommend that, but that is something you could do if you wanted to. All right, let's look at the questions here. Okay. So I can change the lenders run. Yes, you can. How do you deal with tracking? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. So now I think that's it. We're okay, good with the questions. Okay, so any questions on this or anything else? Let's just cover the questions here. Before we open it up to any other lead gen questions. So guys, if you have any questions about this setup of this, let me know. Otherwise, I've given you a very quick demo on what to do, and once you set that up, go for it.
So Nick, can you split traffic based on geo or whatever else there may be, Or
yes,
is it a straight?
Yes, you can. So at the moment, it's just straight this. We have a new update coming up. We're going to split on geos, mobile devices, because we have all that data available. And also, you'll be able to split using inside the decision tree itself. So we just want to get this out the door, and then those updates are coming very soon. And then hopefully in the next month or two, we'll be able to give you multivariate testing capability as well. So you can pretty much rotate any number of nodes that you want and dynamically move that inside the decision tree itself and any other components. So the only requirement here is that you actually have a page on which a lead to decision tree is sitting at this stage. We might open it up to non-lead to traffic as well. We've tested that. But at this stage, because it requires you to put a little bit of a pixel in, like our lead to pixel, so we can track that page. There's no way we'll find out that that's actually that you are rotating that page. But that's coming very soon. Unfortunately, I haven't done enough testing on this yet, is why we haven't released it. So we've got a few extra versions that are coming up, and this will be updated very, very shortly. The biggest update, so see, the biggest bang for your buck normally is going to be this node right here in a decision tree. Is going to be this right here. So I'm just going to pull this up. Is that right there? All things being equal, you fix that first node or your landing page and the first node, or should I say this one here? That here. Generally speaking, the biggest mover of funnels is leaving the ads aside, is fixing up your lander and its relationship with the decision tree. That is the biggest mover. So if I was working with someone, they had about 20 people start the decision tree. And all we did was we just worked on the landing page and the decision tree, just make sure that the combination is changing the conversation. And we moved that to 40%. All of a sudden, they just doubled the number of leads, 100% increase in the lead count, all things being equal, right? So sometimes we end up focusing on the wrong thing. Usually you may want to say, I want to fix something down here. And I would suggest that don't bother with that until you've fixed it up here. Obviously, your resources are finite. your brain power is finite, your budget is finite. Focus on the top and try and move the needle there. Because if you just double the number of people who start, you're going to have double the people who, all things being equal, pop at the bottom over here. And for that reason is why we've released this as our first version, because that's going to be your landing page test is what it would be. That's not to say you can't get some benefits down here, obviously, but usually they are becoming like your secondary, tertiary level tests, and oftentimes too much focus down here and not keeping eye off the ball by moving the needle on the bits at the top.
So
All right, we have some questions. Yeah,
sorry, Nick, just on that. Can you change if you change the conversion node halfway through a test, does that reset the test, or would you need to create a new test?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Ideally, you'd want to you want to change it because obviously you're mixing up the data. But as far as our data grab is concerned, we're going to grab a conversion where you've ticked the conversion to be.
Because you could just convert test all the way down through every node, making sure it's all right. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, this is wicked. Thanks.
Yeah. No problem. We'll all right. Let me go ahead and okay. We've got some extra questions here. Okay. So I can connect my domain or subdomain to LeadsHook as a custom domain. That is correct. You can pick any 2 or 3 pages I've built on any platform, run tests there. Absolutely, you can. Correct. Yeah, exactly. But you just need to make sure that the DT is embedded in it, because otherwise we can't read what's happening on the page. Otherwise, so at some future point, if it's not going to be a LeadsHook page, you could just come over here. So for example, there's a variant. Let's say for argument's sake, if that page is not a LeadsHook page, then you would actually just have a little thing here saying pixel, or if you want, it could be a server-side API call that you would actually insert onto the page, and that would send that information to us that is the impression. And then you could do the similarly for the conversion. In fact, I covered that setup in Techie SOS. That's one of the courses that I've been progressively adding content into. We actually built this entire thing just using ChatGPT scripting. So it's available. Obviously, it became a little bit techie for most people, but that's what gave me the idea that, you know what, let's just add that as a feature. So that's where that came about. I've always had a button. Okay, so I've always had a button on my lander that goes to my starter node. I will try and embed it on. Yeah, okay. Is there a reason why you're doing that? Feel free to unmute if you want to answer the question by unmuting.
I just I have a lot of calls a lot of the calls to action on the website are, take your self-assessment.
Okay.
And
have you ever tested that? Have you ever tested it against one where you've just put the DT on the page itself as a variant or an option?
No, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, okay.
I always started my DT with a kind of an explanation of, this is what this decision tree will do, and I need your consent, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you running a health funnel?
Yes, it's very complicated because it's an extremely high.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I don't want to get in the way of any regulatory compliance requirements, but you could try. Okay, so here's what I would do is just clone your campaign, and it doesn't be a split test. Bring the DT onto the page itself, put a little arrow thing or whatever, and see if that improves your start rates. So over your current start rate. Now, if you find that this new start rate is obviously better, let's say, for argument's sake, if it is, all of a sudden you've just moved the needle, right? And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for big moves. And if your start rate can move by 30, 40, 50%, or even double, which I've seen happen just by moving this around, it's a big win. And then you can optimize whatever the compliance requirements may be. So a small test just to validate the idea first, rather than wasting a whole bunch of money and getting all perfect. And like, oh, but hang on a second, this actually is working. Cool, let me stop. Let's go by the drawing board. Let's cover all the legals, the compliance, all that stuff, and saying, if I were to run it this way, how can I run it by embedding on the page and still, be consistent and compliant with the regulations that you need to be compliant with. But first, validate the idea rather than build the whole thing out and realize the damn thing bombs, and you're like, oh shit, I just wasted 15, 20, 30 hours of my life doing it. So run a very quick test first and make sure that that holds true.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you.
Cool. No problem. Awesome. All right. Well, if there's no more questions on split testing or any of this feature set right here, let's open it up to any other questions that are lead hook and keep it hopefully lead gen or business related. But yeah, if you'd like me to do a funnel review, drop a link. Happy to pull it up and do that. I do want to share with you. So I recently did an exit SOS offer where we had 5 people join up. The offer's not available, so it's not to sell you on anything. Each and every one of them is struggling with tracking. The biggest spender is they're about 10 mil a year in gross revenue. They spend about $1 mil a month. Even their tracking is pretty shocking. So it's a massive leverage point, because maybe I probably run into on hand like maybe 5 funnels ever where I've said, okay, your tracking's fine, let's move on. I've never done that. And maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, if that. So either they mess up the deduplication if they're running Facebook traffic, or the setups are not correct, or they double firing conversions, all that stuff. It's just kind of like it's mind-boggling that is still a problem in 2023. The scariest part is these are the experts. So I'm not even sure what's happening in the wild of the people who are not doing this for a living. So fix that up right away. And the reason why you want to do that is because firstly, well, your data is going to be correct. But secondly, if you're running Google traffic and you're not using enhanced tracking, so I'm actually going to run through that now just to make sure, not quite a full tracking thing, but if you are running Google search traffic or any Google traffic for that matter, come over here and you'll go to GTM. This is V2. Turn that. You put your container here. Let's say you're running Google Ads. Put in your page right here. You download the container, upload, and that's it. That's as far as all the tracking stuff you need to do. Go ahead and save that. Let's say I come onto the page and now I want to set up my conversion. That's sitting right on the last node here, your thank you page or whatever the page it is, or wherever you want to set up. You don't have to do it there. You're going to see this little thing pop up right here saying add Google conversion. I'm going to tick that, add it on entry. In this case, put in your conversion ID, your label. Now there can be custom fields as well. So if you are running multiple pathways and you want to drive the conversions using custom fields, and you want to update those custom fields in real time based on low level conversion, medium level conversion, idle client conversion, different at a client level conversion. However you want to do it, you can do it multiple ways. I'm going to include my conversion value. So you're going to add the value here. And then you have this other option here, which is enhanced conversions. You want to turn this thing on. Now, this conversion is usually very, very painful to set up. What we've added this as a feature inside V2. So all you got to do is whatever your email field you're using in your DTs, make those selections, press save. This part of conversions, Google is trying to match you, not against your G-cleads or your WB rate or any of those variables. It's trying to find you on one of the accounts you registered, one of the Gmail accounts. And so it's looking at your postcode, your country. If you have this information, obviously add it in. If you don't, that's fine. Just leave it. Email is the main one that it looks for, because obviously that's the one unique record for creating a Gmail account. And it tries to match you against that. And by doing that, what it does, it enhances its ability to find the people and find audiences. And the reports I'm getting is because we had someone who did an objective test. I've been telling them to do this for months. They just added in they Google search conversion cost per lead dropped by 40%. It's free money. Really, it's free money. So if you're doing any Google traffic, please use this and save yourself 40%. I'm not sure what your exact number will be, but that's what I'm going with here. All right, super simple setup. All you're doing is just selecting the values of the data you're capturing, which is your largely email, phone, first name, last name, and geo location type stuff. Okay, I think that ends any of the LeadsHook centric stuff. Feel free to ask any questions on anything else that's troubling you in your business. Trudy,
I have a question.
Albert.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So
Done.
I'm in senior care, and
Okay.
I'm trying to build a brand separate from my clients. We've
Okay.
always had issues with the trust factor because it's such a high consideration purchase. I did an experiment. We've had many well-performing landing pages, but as soon as I have run traffic straight to the website, which is very
Yep.
rich,
Yep.
it explodes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, it's just it performs so much better when it goes straight to the client's website as it goes to the landing page and whatnot. But the thing is, it's very hard for me to track the journeys
Okay.
people take. And I'm curious about kind of theories or ideas on how I can replicate that kind of trust on a branded website. We've got a new branded website. We've got about 20 articles on it. We've got about 75 organization listings. We're trying to kind of be a place for mom or caring.com.
Okay, so when you're driving it on the client side, I'm assuming you're driving it on the landing page on the client side, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously it's got a whole lot of pages around it, like the blog post and the various articles around it.
Yeah.
And so the interesting test for you will be is if you were to replicate some of those articles, and you could just add the URL into ChatGPT and say, can you reword this? You might just get those articles created automatically with a slight spin on it. And that would be one way to quickly get those articles done. Slap them onto your page. So you're creating and keep the menu items the same. Because what you want to validate here is their brand the impact, or is the content on the page and make it look like a real business the impact here?
Right.
And so I don't want to, so yeah, so what we don't want to do is assume that it's the brand name that's the impact here. It could be that's because you just ended up at a much richer site, and it looks like what a real business would do. For example, when you go to leadshook.com, I don't just give you one page with no links. You can go to About Us, you can read our policies, you can all that. So I look like a real business. And landers, generally speaking, in most markets, they kind of want to prevent you from going anywhere else. So it reduces the trust factor. It's like, well, what are you? Like this doesn't look real, right? And so what we want to do here is that the test is here to see whether it's the name that's on the page is resulting in the outcome, or is it the fact that it's a full-fledged site with the ability to move around. And that would be the test that you do. Now, you could replicate that test by building a full page, driving it to that, and then build a landing page that does not allow you to go anywhere. And that would be both of on your domains, and you rotate between the two. And that performance there would solve the issue for you, whether it's the full-fledged page resulting in the outcome and not the fact that it's a brand name.
Thank you. I like that idea. Thank you. I'll use that.
All right.
Nick, I just have a really quick LeadsHook type question. I've started setting up another quiz for somebody, and it's been a long time since I've had to set up the connection, the integration between LeadsHook and an ESP that's not one of the ones listed in LeadsHook. We're meant to use webhooks, right? I couldn't find the training in the course thing that walks you
All right, cool. Okay. No, that's okay. I'll give that to you right now. Essentially, so first I'll show you what to do. All you want to do is just use this. And I'm assuming whatever platform you're using integrates with Zapier. So there's two options. Either you can webhook directly to that platform itself, and that's where they would have the API documents. What I would look to do is just turn on your web browsing or web whatever to get the URL where you see that script on the page. You can even grab the whole payload that the normal API pages do, copy and paste it into ChatGPT saying, hey, this is the page I want to send it to. Break it down for me, and it'll give you the explanation. And then you can literally bring that here like so, and this would be going directly to the CRM or whatever automation system that you are using. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it, and you'd pick the JSON option. The second way of doing it would be to pick the webhooks version from Zapier. So you are web hooking into Zapier, and then so in this case you would the feature is called webhooks by Zapier. That is how you would trigger it.
Yep.
And then you would add whatever platform you're sending it to on the other side of it. So I'll share with you what that looks like. This is going to be, I think it's called lead distribution. And it's called the complete guide to lead distribution. And you would be looking at scrolling all the way down to section 3 here, called Zapier, and it's video number 8. So video number 8 in the Zapier section right here, which is this one here. That's the one you want to use.
Thank you.
Yep, and I'm going to post that into the chat here, and that way you have the article. Right, so section 3, video number 8.
Thanks, Nick.
No problem. Cool. Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks for the share, Greg, with the Google. By the way, I've been playing around with just for anybody who's into SEO. I tested quite a few platforms. There's this was an LTD on AppSumo, and I rarely buy anything from there, but for some reason I bought this one. And I didn't think much of it. I said like $49 is probably crap. And it's pumping out the best content that I've seen so far. I canceled my content at scale account. They were charging $250 a month for it. And so their credits are basically 1 word per credit. So you can write 1 million words for $79 a month. It's quite ridiculous. And it's called textbuilder.ai. So I've got yeah. So I bought an LTD, and then he was selling LTD upsells. So I think for about $200 or whatever the heck it was, it gives me 500,000 words a month. So I kind of maxed it out at that point. Didn't think much of it. This is about 18 months ago. He's really improved the platform right now. So anyone is into SEO now, you can build PBNs. And how you do that is you come over here. You connect your WordPress site. And you start a project, and you just let it go buck wild. You can build tons of PBNs on the fly. Now the content quality is pretty serious. So there's an article. So I'm getting it to write technical articles just as a way to test, to see how good it is. What's going on here? The UI is a little bit buggy at times, but anyway, let's see. Yeah, that's going to work right there. Okay, cool. So this is 100% AI content. It's pretty solid. I was pretty impressed with what it produced. And it's on point too. That's 3,000 words, used 3,000 credits. And yeah, so I had a read of it, and I said, all right, let me see, let me fact check the damn thing. It's actually not bad. It even starts out with something a little bit like, hey, have you struggled with setting up, but you're not alone, yada, yada, yada. So very human-based content, doesn't read like ChatGPT at all. And considering the price of the, now listen, I got no affiliate link here or anything of that sort. Just I've tested a lot of this stuff. Most of them are pretty crap. This one here is one of the few that I've seen so far that actually is worthy of. We're doing manual reviews for ourselves, or we're using, so how we're helping our internal writers is that we get version 1 here, and then we get them to edit it with, so that way nothing's really going to the market with just 100% AI stuff. But the content is so good that if you are building a PBN, you could literally use this to do PBNs. Yeah. Oh, input. Yeah. So, okay. Good question. Good question. The input is this. So this is what I did yet. So sorry, I should show it to you here. So I don't want to make it a demo about this thing here, but let's just go through. So start a project. They call it start a project here. All you do is you add in whatever title you want. I'm just going to call it testing 1, 2, 3. You pick a niche, whatever it is. I've seen that one, this option here. I've tested quite a few of these. That one gives me the best quality, like gives you like human type content. I don't know why, but that's just how it works. So a bit of a hack of the system. You can get ChatGPT to create the article content for you. So what you're looking for here is this is the title it's looking for. This is where you put your main title. There's no keyword as such. Select the options. I found informative, 3,000 words as the best option. You can even generate AI images if you want to. You can add FAQs. You know, the key takeaways. So this is the selection that I found that has given me the best results, but I have not tested these other location type, images type options. It even generates images. So you can actually get everything on autopilot. The title goes over here. Now, I just learned this today, is if you add in this curly bracket here, you can add in like a large context, almost like a prompt about what you want it to be about. So for example, how to adjust white balance settings on your iPhone camera for perfect videos. You can actually add in more context. I didn't know that yesterday when I was testing it. So I would definitely, because my SEO guy, well, they created these massive briefs. So I would actually take the brief content and put it right over here of the topics to cover, the I don't know, the other bits and pieces in the article you want to be, your subheads or whatever. You could add that right over here. And I'm not sure what it's going to do, but that's what I would do here and see if it produces even better content. But basically, what it produced out of the straight out, you know, without any much editing, has been actually pretty serious. So, of all the tools that I've played with, this is the first one that gets kind of like my tick of approval. So, Greg, does it answer the question? Yeah, pretty cheap too. Pretty cheap, considering how much. So, yeah, he's mispriced it. All right. What is the best converting DT style for contractor lead gen such as electricians? Okay, so if you're doing emergency campaigns, you want to drive them to a pay-per-call campaign, and essentially let me connect you with the best person to solve your emergency situation. Would be kind of like the headline I go with. Quickly and easily fix your whatever your thing. So let's say if it's that option, then you want to grab the details out of them, so you imply the impression that I'm going to send you to the right person. So where are you based? What's the problem? When does it need to be fixed? All that sort of stuff. That's more your Google search type campaign. Now, if you're running a Facebook campaign, like find an electrician to do I don't know, redo your pool or something, which is not quite an emergency thing, then I would go with this one right here, which I've shared time and time again as the safest option available, which is I'm going to look at Facebook, and inside the group, go to here. Whenever it loads up. Okay, cool. Search. Oh, crap. Come on. Yes, thank you. Okay, search. And look for trifle. That's the kind of like the go-to design page that is still working quite well. All right. And that's the one that I've been using for a good 7 to 10 years now. Still working quite well. The reason for that is because it really gets to the point. I'm sure the person who's scrolling on Facebook doesn't have all the time in the world. So you want to, so I'll just walk you through what some of the, let me just blow it up here a bit and show you what the difference is here. Yes, absolutely, Greg. All right, so put your logo over here. A numerical proof element, this is often missing. Pretty much one of the first things I fix in most funnels is sort of the social proof aspect of it is what you're doing here. Help 10,000, I don't know, California homeowners with their electrical problems or something. Right? So like, oh wow, you guys have dealt with 10,000 people or whatever that number may be. If you're doing a financial type funnel, you can say, have helped 10,000 homeowners by saving 10 million pounds in interest payments or whatever it be, something along those lines. Your offer, your headline here. So with exclusivity, urgency, or scarcity, if you have those components available or you've not manufactured them. Speed of benefit, which takes only 30 seconds to get all this done. Have a decision tree, have the arrow to draw the eye here. Make sure that, and then risk reversal, 100% risk-free, privacy, all that stuff goes down here. And then I immediately lead with some sort of proof element. You could display 3 of those across the page. Obviously, in a mobile screen, they'll all be sitting under each other. Generally speaking, on most mobile, you can do 3 column, or you can do a 4 column. Next comes the emotional attachment part, connection. This is where you want to drive some value around why you. So, for example, so in the case of an electrician, what could be an emotional benefit of working with? So in the case of Lisa's campaign, obviously you can emotionalize the stuff, like we don't rip off old people or whatever. You can. So in the case of electricians, you can be like, dealing with directly with the electricians themselves. We are not a reseller. Get electrical work done by a caring service person. Those sort of things. Now you can obviously put into ChatGPT to create some emotional angles around it. I'm not being able to pick something on the fly. And then you edify your decision tree, which is why is this landing page so different to every other page you're going to see today. So we leave with all the electrical work is clean. We certify you. Every person is registered. Yada yada yada. And any elements around how you're different, we only pick the top 5 people to work with. If you're dealing with multiple people, and that's one of the offers that you want to promote here, then you're going to say, you get to work with the best 5 people in your area, local electricians helping local homeowners, that sort of thing is what I would be looking at putting it over here. That largely covers it. And then an About Us page about why this is so different. Usually I like to put a personalized story here just to humanize the whole thing, which is this website was principally created because of the amount of homeowners that are constantly getting ripped off by electricians with overquoting and not turning up when they say going to turn up and yada, yada, yada. We've gone and we've reviewed everybody and made sure that everybody that you're going to work with on this page is going to turn up on time and do good, honest pricing. And if that's the case, you want to put pricing type stuff over here as well, right? And that would be largely is all you really need on a landing page. Of course, you can add, FAQs and all the other stuff, but as a bare minimum, just look at that, and that should largely cover the format and structure that you want to use for most pay per lead campaigns with paid traffic. So Cameron, does that answer the question? Cool. All right. Awesome. Done. Any other questions? Let me reduce the size here. Or any follow-up questions on this? Nope. All right. Well, guys, give me some feedback. Hopefully it was a good session. You got some value out of it. And if there's anything else you want me to cover next time, if you need me to do some research on something, let me know. Please feel free to add in the comment here or add in the Facebook group saying, hey, for the next conversion call, can you cover ABC? And that way it gives me some context. I can even make a 5 or 10 PowerPoint slides and introduce that idea first, rather than me just, think what I think you should be doing. Yeah, but it's really what I'm finding that's missing in a lot of the stuff, because I work with people doing really high volumes and people trying to start out, is just the fundamentals are missing in pretty much every funnel. And if you just focus on that, I think a lot of campaigns would just start running. I see too many people getting overly obsessed with AI. Listen, I use more AI than most people, and I'm not going to say don't use it, but I think get the foundational fundamentals right first before you start getting all fancy it up. So resist the urge to needlessly have the FOMO thing kick in, and just focus on the foundational stuff. And I think get that stuff sorted first, and AI is the petrol or the NAS you add on top of your funnels. But without the basics in place, really doesn't matter, because you want to get the conversion tracking in place to get lower quality or lower cost leads actually. All right, any other questions here? If there's none, then we'll call it a day. And I look forward to seeing you in a fortnight on the next one.
Thanks, Nick. That's super helpful.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Didn't get to chat to you, but thank you. I'm glad you were listening. All right, guys, we'll chat soon. Bye for now.